So this is what I wanted to give you as a location for a fantastic base, a really good spot. And it's here by this waterfall, which is located at the very top of the map, so in F1. Now, this isn't necessarily the best spot for a base in terms of exploration, because as you can see, there's quite a lot of area to it. But this cave is fantastic for a number of different reasons. Now, obviously it doesn't have this platform. You're seeing some of the base as it's been constructed. But I want to take you back in time for a moment and show you why it's good. So this is what the cave looks like as standard. Basically, it's jam-packed full of different ores. A lot of different ores that you can easily mine. We've got gold, copper, iron, platinum, all those good things all in here. And it's a massive cave. It is potentially really big. And so you can basically run around collecting a load of ores and getting loads of experience points. Now, when the ore runs out, you can use the thumper to regenerate it. Now, this is further down the tech tree, and I've done a separate video on how this works. But essentially, you need a power generator for it or an electricity cable to run to it. And then when you've destroyed all the ores in a given location, you can run the thumper and it will basically respawn the ores. Now, when doing this, it does call in a lot of enemies that you have to deal with, and you have to end up fighting these various different cave worms and things in order to keep this going until it's finished. And then when it is finished, you'll find that you get all the ores regenerating. And that's the reason this is a good spot, because obviously it has a lot of ores as standard, and then when you do this, when you use the thumper, you can get even more. Obviously, being a cave is also protected from the environment, so you don't have to worry about storms and other things. So that highlights it as a very good potential base spot. Obviously, you've seen that this cave location has access to loads of deposits in it. Loads of ores of all sorts of types, apart from exotics, are located in here, and if you use the thumper, you can then basically make them respawn. It also has the benefit of being right next to water, which means that you can get fish really easily if you use fish traps, or if you just go hunting in the water, you'll see a bunch of fish swimming down there, for example. And the flowing water can be used for other things. Now, we've had to craft this bridge here along the edge because swimming it is a bit of a chore, but down here, this spot, you can see we've got multiple water wells, water wheels generating electricity. So we've got loads of these, and probably going to add more in. Unfortunately, this is where they have to be located because you can't put them right next to the base for some reason, because it's not seen as flowing water. From here, I have loads of electricity cables running off in different directions. As you can see, a bunch of them go back to the base because all of these are connected together. But in this direction, I've run off some cables over here towards this spot here, which has a stone deposit on it. I've got an electric deep mining drill here, which is mining stone constantly. You can also see with the electric tool out that we can see off into various other locations. Now there's a bear chasing me. Sorry about that interruption. So then we can see, once you keep the electric tool out, you can basically see them off into different directions. I'm not going to go look at them now, but if you've seen my previous video on this, basically I've got loads of electrical miners set up in different locations, and all you need to do is have the electric tool out and you can trace them to the various spots nearby. There's aluminium, there's platinum, there's silica, and there's others. So this is a good spot for this. Now, I actually thought this was a good spot for a base for a multitude of reasons. One, obviously, is the ore location. Two is the water. And three, you are sheltered because it's such a big cave. If you go into it, you'll see that you can obviously build a nice big base inside it. It is huge, and our base is barely started yet. But you can see here, if I run back into the cave, it goes on and on. It goes quite deep back here, then you can go up there. You can see there's still some ores back here we haven't even mined. We've got iron ore and copper up there. A load more back in this location. It goes back and it goes round, and you can again run around in this spot here and basically keep going, and it loops back on itself. At the back here, I have the thumper. So the thumper's set up and it's actually connected to our network. I've also set up an automated gun here, which will shoot the creatures once you start using the thumper. So once you've harvested all the ore in the base, we can then use the thumper to basically reactivate all the ores and regenerate it. Now, there are some downsides. Obviously, being in a cave, you are exposed to the potential danger of getting cave sickness. So what you do need to do is to craft a dehumidifier. We've got one here, which is obviously biofuel powered. Oh, charcoal powered, sorry. And then there's another one which is electric powered further back into the base. Also crafted a generator to help put extra power on. The other thing you'll notice is it's pretty dark, so without a torch on it's hard to see in here, which is a problem, which is why I've got some of these lights knocking around in here. So there are some downsides for sure. But naturally, this is shielded from storms, so there's no wind storms or electric storms or rain storms that are going to do any damage to the base. Nothing like that can do any damage here. We have built the base on stilts, so it has been crafted on legs for the reason that the animals can go underneath here, so the animals can be put under here. We've got a bunch of animals in here, and they've got their food and drink in this area. And also that means that if any of the ores respawn here, they'll be underneath the base that we've set up, and therefore they won't be any issues with that. Now, this is far from perfect, this construction. It still needs a lot of work. For example, all of these wardrobes are already full of loot, so we've got a lot of work to do to improve it. And it is unfortunate you do have to build these walls and ceilings within it. You'd think you could get away with just being in a cave, but if you look, some of these devices, this one, for example, the foundry says it requires shelter. So even though we're in a cave and we're behind a building with the door shut, the foundry isn't working because it requires shelter, so it needs a structure around it. So we're going to have to expand that base in order to be able to use that. Some of these other things also suffered from this, which is why you see these weird little wooden constructions over these concrete furnaces, for example, and over here with the concrete mixer. So this area is a work in progress, but the point is, it's nicely shielded, it's got access to loads of ores, and it's really easy to set up and build in. There are a few caveats. You need the ability to be able to craft lighting. It doesn't have to be electric. You can obviously craft torches, just your basic flaming torch. You also need a dehumidifier to avoid any problems with that. And ideally, you want to get the thumper so that you can then regenerate the ores. A lot of these things are further down the tech tree, so they're not early game things. However, this place just has access to so much ore, it's insane. It makes a really good spot for a base, with the main downside being it's basically right at the top of the map. So if you want to go and explore the desert area, for example, you've got a long trek ahead of you before you get there. So you're going to need a good mount in order to do it. You can see we've got another base in this location here, which was our first base, but that got damaged a lot by the weather and required a lot more protection. This one only has one entrance. Animals never roam into it because they can't come through the water. And so it's a much better spot. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, check out the playlist for more tips and tricks on this game.